subjects in the world of mixed martial arts, in particular, Islam Makhachev, claiming that he has only 3 fights left. We're going to talk about the reality and the falsehoods behind that, because it's important to understand what he means, what he is trying to convey, and what are his long-term plans as he goes on. So let me put on my 3D sunglasses here. All right. So, nah, this is not really my style. This is obviously just 3D sunglasses that you would usually find at movies such as Minecraft. So, just a little bit with the small talking right now, because obviously we're going to wait for the crowd to pile right in here. And once the crowd piles right in, we're going to get right into it and talk about why Islam Makhachev only has 3 fights left, and if there's any truth to that. The other story behind this is Buckley disses Israel Adesanya, fires back with absolute social media trash. We're going to find out exactly what they are talking about, what they are arguing about, and where it started. Well, I can tell you just from the very beginning, it all started when Israel Adesanya was sitting at his house reacting to the fights. He sees Joaquin Buckley. What is the first thing he say? Oh, you know what? I don't like this N word, this and that, right? I don't like him. And look, here's something you got to understand about that I think is really important. There's going to be an inherent bias based on the fact that you are in cahoots with Kamaru Usman. And there's no two ways about that. That's just the reality of what we are looking at. Tribalism, being in favor of your friend, being a good friend, cheering your friend on, encouraging your friend, fighting another human being is very normal. And I hope people understand that. Okay, it's very normal. So Israel Adesanya is going to feel a certain way that he feels when he says, you know what? I don't like this N word. I don't like this guy, right? Basically, when people use the N word, it's a noun that they are describing as a person, usually of a male subject. But that's neither here or there, but just a little education for those of you that may be triggered or offended by the language. Now, obviously, it's not something that I would say or this and that, but it is something that I'm going to verify as a matter of fact when it comes to the language that, let's say, Izzy is using. Now, look, in the past, Israel Adesanya has gotten in trouble for using the N-word. And you know what? I tell you what, man, it's the reason why we're back at it again with this one, because the N-word was once again used towards Buckley. And Buckley, well, I don't know how he took it, but I mean, it's another black man saying it. So that's, I guess, not a problem. But we're going to see and analyze what Buckley had to say about that, because that is the other component of this live stream and what we're going to talk about. But let's read the comments. First, Toxic Gameplays, my man. Shout out to you, everybody around the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and shout out to my man, Toxic Gameplays. We're going to get right into it, my man. He says, Indiana is cooking us right now, man. Damn. Oh, okay. Are you talking about Indiana? Are you talking about NBA? Perhaps Indiana Pacers. Let's see what my man here is talking about. So you see, guys, not only do I take personal interest of my own certain situations or my own certain biasness of news cycles, I'm also curious about what my listeners are into. So if you're talking about the Pacers, okay, Oklahoma City Thunder. So you are an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, I'm assuming. Okay, so Indiana Pacers are cooking us, man. Yeah. Okay, so it's if you're watching this right now, obviously this is taking place in June 19th. Obviously that's June 19, 2025. It is the Pacers taking on Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's on the same day as we're talking about Islam Makhachev wanting only 3 fights left. Now let's find out in exactly what he means by that. So the next fight that we know Islam Makhachev has going on is against JDM. That's not a question, right? Obviously, JDM had an upset against Bilal Muhammad. After that upset, what happens? Now JDM goes in there and takes on Islam Makhachev. And whether Islam Makhachev was going to move up or down was predicated on whether Bilal Muhammad was going to lose, and so he did. As a result of that, well, Bilal Muhammad is now entangled in his own beef with Kamaru Usman, but that's neither here or there whether they're actually going to fight or if Kamaru Usman even acknowledges him. You've seen what he did during the press conference. He says, "Who? Huh? Who? What?" Toxic Gameplay says a year ago, Bilal Muhammad was doing cameos on the Cameo app for $20. Oh, is that right? Yeah, man. Here's the thing, right? The reason why Bilal Muhammad is not as marketable as you think that he is because understand this, right? He needs to be an Arab bad guy. And as a result of not being an Arab bad guy, being that he's a normal guy, he's a Midwest Chicago guy. I'm talking about Bilal Muhammad. To many of you, you may find him very boring. And unfortunately, that's just how you guys view the world. You want to see James Bond villains out of guys like this. So that's really just what it comes down to. And if you want that, that is not a problem. It is not a problem that I'm willing to play in terms of roles or anything like that. I mean, listen, with everything in the world of MMA being influenced by professional wrestling, there's always the element of being a heel and being a babyface. And sometimes you have to have true self-reflection and understanding who you are in order to market yourself. Now, Bilal Muhammad, he just wants to be normal, which is not a problem. He's a wrestler from the Midwest. When has that ever been an interesting entity in the world of, promoting a mixed martial arts fighter, right? No, they want somebody that's exciting, that's like Conor McGregor or Lee Abraham Murray, people like this, right? This is what most people yearn for when they get excited of seeing somebody fight. So Bilal Muhammad was not able to fulfill that as a result, being too normal, being too plain Jane. It didn't catch on with the crowd and also not having self realization. I'm going to tell you something. You know who has true self realization above anybody else, right? Well, for one, I'm going to throw myself in there, but the other side of it is also MMA Guru. He has a strong understanding of self reflection. And the reason why he has a strong understanding of self reflection, he self defecates himself, by the way, in a way that I never would. He understands that he's also a good speaker, just like myself. He also understands that he can convey a certain sentiment that is going on in the world of MMA, in particular, the online fan base. So he has a great self realization of that. Bilal Muhammad did not have the self-realization of understanding that, hey, you know what, maybe some of these people are maybe some of these people are not going to resonate with this, or rather they're not hyper compelled or feel a certain emotion in order to move them into a certain space. Oh, shout outs to Zane Musa Boxing Dosage. Yes, fam. You good? Very good, brother. Doing a live stream right now, just getting it in there. Shout outs to Zane Musa Boxing Dosage, one of the best boxing channels in the UK. But not only that, one of the best channels around the world. But of course, my man straight out of the UK, representing that London, just like we represent California. Marty Miller, shout out to Marty Miller, says Craig Jones called him a Palestinian Forrest Whitaker. Is that right? He called him a Palestinian Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker. Do you mean Robert Whitaker? Or you mean Forrest Whitaker as in, the actual actor? Because sometimes I confuse writing Robert to Forrest sometimes as well. Zane Musa Boxing says, Yeah, my guy, appreciate you're the best MMA channel. Shout outs to Zane Musa Boxing Dosage, man. Me and this guy have had some epic streams together doing UFC coverage. Did some boxing coverages as well. We did a few boxing fights. You know what, man? We did so many boxing fights, so many MMA fights now that I can't even just remember off top. Like, I'll tell you what, listen, if you go to Disney World, or okay, in Zane's case, right? He goes to Amsterdam a lot, right? He goes and chills there, right? You remember it, right? Because it's not the frequency of doing that is not as high as the level of streams that we do. Every week there's a major fighting event, right? So there's 52 weeks in a calendar. Guess what? 40 of those weeks we're going to get it in. So there's a frequency. So, I don't, yeah, man, it's very difficult to, have that kind of frequency in other places. But when it comes to streaming and keeping up with the fights, yeah, we're definitely on it. Facts, bro. Yeah, shout outs to Zane for that one. Marty Miller. Oh, okay. So Marty Miller, you mean the actual actor? Okay. Forrest Whitaker. So he compares him to Forrest Whitaker. I wonder why did he make that comparison to Bilal? A very strange comparison. When I thought you meant that he said Robert Whitaker, I thought maybe because they have a wrestling base or this and that. But let me know and elaborate what he meant by Forrest Whitaker. And then Zane says, gotta speak to you privately, fam. Been off social media. Okay, yeah, say less. I got you, fam. For real, for real. Man, shout outs to my man Zane Musa, Boxing Dosage. One of my favorite co-streamers to do UFC coverage and boxing coverage as well. So, okay, so Islam Makhachev, right? Is it true that he is only going to have 3 fights left? Well, the question is, can he have more? And the reality is no. So we're going to take a look at what Javier Mendez had to say about this particular matter. Now, this article right now came out today by Jordan Ellis of Bloody Elbows, the trusted Bloody Elbows website. Okay. Now, Javier Mendez has backtracked after suggesting Islam Makhachev is going to retire soon. Okay. Now, earlier this week, the AKA founder shocked everyone by claiming his star pupil will retire after 3 more fights. Okay, now Islam Makhachev insisted that he's just beginning to shut down all the talk of quitting MMA. Now, Javier Mendez has clarified his earlier comments after a massive stir among UFC fans online. Okay, and what is it exactly that he said? Islam Makhachev's coach clarifies retirement comments. Mendez claims that his 3-fight retirement suggestions was simply a guess. Now, after working with Khabib, who retired at 32 years old, and his late father, Abdul Manap, the renowned MMA coach, assumed Makhachev would stop fighting at 35. Now, however, Mendez has now admitted he had no inside knowledge of the 33-year-old's retirement plan. None whatsoever, right? People are taking it out of context. He insisted, said maybe he has 3 more fights. Not in those exact words I said that, but I didn't say Islam said that. I'm thinking because being involved with Khabib's father, talking about how fighters should quit at 35. So basically, I'm just assuming would be thinking about retirement at a particular age. Now, realistically, he can only have 7, 8 fights, and it depends on what Islam wants. It's not what the coach wants. He's the driver, not me, according to Javier Mendez. Okay, so Zain Musa says, I'll chill on the live, fam. Good to always hear your opinion. What do you think of Khamzat versus Duplessis? So, okay, that's a very good question, Zane. I'm going to tell you what I think about that, right? That fight has 2 extremes. It's either going to go very early with Khamzat, taking him down, taking mount position, taking back position, getting the choke in the first round, or Dricus shows a little bit more jujitsu prowess, being able to defend on his back when Kamzat puts him there, and then puts up a good fight all the way to the fifth round. Okay, those are the two scenarios how that fight goes. So if it goes like that, what's going to happen is, will Dricus Duplessis' cardio hold up? The answer is yes, and I'm going to explain why. Uh, Zane says, I'm chilling, but between you, I think I've fallen for, oh, okay. But I also, okay. I'm in, okay. I got you, man. Okay. Well, you know what? We all have different challenges in life, and that is yeah, but on any regard, going back to Islam Makhachev, he says realistically he only has 7 to 8 fights left. Okay, it depends on what Islam wants. It's not realistically what the coach wants. He's the driver and not me, according to Javier Mendez. Now he's saying, I'm not retiring. Just assume that there would be 3 fights, but I think there could be 6, 7, or 4, and it could be at any amount. He says that I don't know. Oh, Big Ank MMA, shout out to you. By the way, shout outs to Big Ank MMA because this guy's specialty is, guess what? Dagestani fighters, brother. Brothers that look like this with beard. If you know brother with beard like this and he fight, Big Ank MMA is expert for people like this. But you know what? Me, I am also expert for people like this because look at me. I look like these people. I look like Dagestani brother. You know what I mean? Okay. Okay, so let's hear what Javier Mendez had to say about this particular matter.
But John Jones is not really a superstar. He's what do you mean he's not really a superstar? Outside,
Oh, wait.
Are you crazy? Outside, he is a superstar. No,
No, that's not it. Hold on.
Outside,
Okay.
a tough customer. He's tough to take down. He's got really good striking, and he's very dangerous everywhere. So he's not exactly someone that we can take down at will, and it's not exactly somebody we can stand very comfortable with. He's very dangerous. So we have to be careful with everything with this guy. So we can't assume that we're going to get by him. We have to work towards that. So we will work towards that. And my heart says that we will get by him, but it's not going to be easy. If we don't respect him, we can run into problems.
Okay, so there you go, right? Javier Mendez is saying that JDM is not going to be very easy. I agree with him. It's not going to be an easy matchup. Just like the Dricus Duplessis and the Kamzat fight is not going to be an easy matchup if it goes to the later rounds in the championship rounds, because I got to tell you, the way that Dricus trains, he is made for 5 rounds. You've seen it in the Izzy fight for as long as that went. It went pretty long. Obviously, it didn't go the distance. It went long enough. The Sean Strickland fight, they went the distance. You've seen the kind of cardio that he has, and you've seen the kind of cardio that Sean Strickland has. Now, what makes the cardio of Dricus Duplessis very unique? Well, I can confidently say that he trains in high elevation, and as a result, not only does he train in high elevation, he also uses heat shock therapy training, meaning that he also trains in heat in order to increase his VO2 max levels. Okay, now you guys understood what I just said? He trains in high elevation, and not only that, also trains in hot heat, shock therapy sessions in terms of, increasing his VO2 max levels, right? So, in that regard, he's a very unique fighter. I'm talking about Dricus Duplessis. This is a very unique fighter. You guys have to understand this. This is very unique fighter, brother. This guy, very unique, Dricus Duplessis. He's very unique. He good cardio, brother. So we good cardio. When he got good cardio, then he gonna go 5 rounds with Kamzat. But I'm sorry, if Kamzat take him down, he gonna smash, brother. He gonna smash. And then after he smash, then he choke, get rear naked, and then finish. Bye bye, Dricus. Go back to Africa. I take your farm. Okay, anyways. All right. So A little awkward there after that, but yeah. Zane Musa Boxing says, hope comes wins, bro. Well, hey man, you know what? August is going to be a very fun month. How about this? You want to do that with me? You know you're welcome. Well, I mean you're always welcome on the stream. So you know, speaking of also welcomed on the stream, we also had um uh BKFC boxer uh, Idris, brother of mine. You know, obviously he's out here in SAC. You know, I see him every day for training. So, you know, he came on the stream after his teammate Philip Rowe won his UFC fight. This dude Zane was losing a fight in the UFC, and then out of nowhere he goes and finishes the guy after he was losing on points. You know what I mean? For sure, bro. We'll cover that live for sure. All right, awesome. So you know, we'll have that scheduled then for UFC 219. It is August 19th. Wait, well, hold on. Let's confirm the date on that one. UFC 319. Dricus Duplessis 16, August 16, Chicago, Illinois. And look, madness, bro. I'll tell you what I like about the Chicago card. Listen, none of them are American, right? It's an American city, South African, Chechnyan, Swedish, in Chicago. But Shemaev is Muslim. So therefore, he's in a home crowd because guess what Chicago is? It is a Muslim town. Just like London, where Zayn is from, bro, they are a Muslim town. You better believe it. Listen, who is their mayor in London? This is madness. You know, I wish we had this going on in LA and Sacramento. In Sacramento, a little bit. More in the Bay Area, not so much in LA, definitely not so much in Stockton. But man, London, they got you know, a strong Muslim lobby. Their mayor is Mayor Khan, right? You know, he's a Muslim. Who else? Who else? Well, I mean, they have a lot of people in power in the parliaments and whatnot. But man, yeah, London is a Muslim town. Chicago is a Muslim town. Like Philadelphia is a Muslim town in a Western state. Paris is as well. There's a lot of Arabs, Moroccans, North Africans, all of that, right? In Ireland, you got Libyans, you know, all types of Africans, and you know, so on and so forth. Yeah, Sadiq Khan, correct? Yes. So, like Chicago, I don't know if they ever had a Muslim mayor. Probably not, or maybe they can. I mean, you know, they're a strong enough lobby. If you remember, Barack Obama uh, started his political career out of Chicago, right? And as such, a lot of his political career was predicated on Muslim support of that local community. So definitely the Muslims have something. I mean, in Minnesota, right up north of Chicago, you got Elon Umar, you know, that controversial Somalian, you know, senator or, yeah, or Congress lady. But yeah. So, Shiraz versus Berlanga, who you got? LOL. Come on, man. You know, are you really asking me who I got? Listen, Zane, you know, I don't mind you asking me who I have on certain UFC fights. That's natural, but come on, are you really going to ask me between Shiraz and Berlanga? You know what I mean? Like, we know the answer to that. And the answer is Hamza Shiraz is a once in a lifetime talent, and he's going to knock the living heck out of Berlanga. That's what I think. You know, I think that yeah, yeah, man. He's gonna knock out Berlanga. He's gonna knock the Puerto Rican eyebrows out of you know, Berlanga. You know, and you know them dudes, man. You know, shout outs to the Ricans, but y'all are you know, really good with what do you call it? Shaping the eyebrows and all of that. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, you know, when there's specialties and all of that. So you know, I think that, you know, what, a little uppercut here and there, a little uppercut, bomb, 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 and you know, who that thing comes off like, yeah, man, Shiraz is gonna knock him out, bro. You know what I mean? Man, look, and look, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, Zayn is very much tied to Hamza Shiraz, And Hamza Shiraz is one of my favorite fighters. I think he reminds me of like a Pakistani British Tommy Hearn, right? So he's very interesting in that regard, right? Very interesting character, very well mannered, young kid, and very skilled. But you know what? There's a lot of things that I'd like to see improve out of him as well, right? Some of the things that I would like to see improved out of Hamza Shiraz. I'd love to see more of a Prince Nassim, Tyson Fury versus Klitschko style. In other words, a lot of movement, a lot of head movement, a lot of jazz and pizzazz. I know that Ben Whitaker is very good at that. Michael Venom Page in MMA is very good at doing that. Dominic Cruz was very good at doing that. My boy Cody Garbrandt, okay, former world champion who beat Dominic Cruz, is very good at that. Uriah Faber was also very good at that, right? So all the greats were very good at being able to move, stick and move, stick and move. So I would love to see a little bit more of that with Hamza Shiraz on the boxing side. Zain Musa Boxing Dosage says, facts, fam. Same, bro. Man, I tell you what, I'm going to have to add a boxing detail on this timeline. No, not timeline, but on the description. So we're going to dedicate a section on the description, Shiraz versus Berlanga. And then we're going to add the boxing emote, not the boxing emoji, the boxing hashtag. Boom, there we go. So Shiraz and Berlanga, for those that are going to search for it now on the description, people can look for it. So do I have enough? Okay, right here. So I'm going to add that onto the title as well. Shiraz versus Berlanga, because that is on July 12th, I believe. So that is going to be 1 week before Manny Pacquiao versus Barrios taking place in Vegas, and then Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. This one is going to be my favorite fight of the day, right? And you know what's on that day is Dustin Poirier's retirement fight with Lil Wayne walking him out. You know what I mean? And yet, even if it's Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, but you know what? I can watch both because obviously it's an English card. And then Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway is an American primetime card. So it really is the best of both worlds. But nonetheless, 1 week before that, it's going to be Shiraz versus Berlanga. Now, the problem with Hamza Shiraz, okay, you guys are going to love this because it's going to get really, cooking in here on the boxing side. Okay. And I'm glad Zane is in here because, I dedicated this whole entire time to put boxing into this conversation because I thought that, okay, the only thing that was hot right now would be what is the subject that we had originally talked about? Islam Makhachev and then Buckley. We're going to get to Buckley going at Izzy, dropping N-bombs and all of that. Oh, we're going to get to that. But we're going to get to the boxing side of things because Hamza Shiraz, okay, a very interesting person, okay, because there's a lot of challenges that he has going into this fight. That's what makes this very interesting and very compelling. Now, look, as much as Zane and I are biased towards Hamza Shiraz, we're also very fair and objective in what we're worried about. And to be honest with you, we're very much worried because Berlanga is a hard hitter, but we also know Berlanga has his vulnerabilities, and we've seen that in the Canelo fight. So when you add those two elements together, what you get is a 50-50 fight where if Shiraz puts his best foot forward, he can not only make this fight into his favor, but potentially even make it easier. And then Zain Musa Boxing says, facts, hit the nail on the head on that one. Yeah, my man, because you know what? His last fight, we were very concerned. Okay, let's take a look at, hopefully, well, you know what? I'm not going to risk anything. I was going to say, let's take a look at the highlights of this fight, but that would be a little bit risky on the on those side of things. Okay, so Shiraz, let's take a look at his last fight that we were very much concerned with. So Edgar Berlanga, Carlos Adames was his last fight, and Carlos Adames and him went to a draw. Okay? It went to a draw. And it was very controversial. Oh, the life of fighting. If Islam Makhachev gets a 30-1 record, I think he is the GOAT. For sure. And if he beats JDM, it's going to be hard to deny him of that because, well, JDM, in my opinion, is like the Eddie Alvarez of 2016 during the Conor McGregor reign. You understand my comparison? Where Eddie Alvarez, though he was a champion, though he had a following from his Bellator days, JDM, I don't know, man. There's not really a lot that JDM can offer in terms of superstardom. And quite frankly, Eddie Alvarez was outshadowed in that UFC 205 card, right? But yeah, if Makhachev gets through that, and then he gets through JDM, maybe he comes down at 155. That's the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Islam Makhachev also wants to go down to 155 after he beats JDM. I'm going to talk about that after the Hamza Sheeraz and the Berlanga fight that I'm going to talk about right now. So the last time that Carlos Adames fought Sheeraz, it was very close. It was too close for my liking, right? And the controversy behind that also was solidified with Turki El-Sheikh looking like he wanted to interfere with the situation. I think that part I can show you, right? So let's take a look at that footage. Turki Sheeraz. Okay, this is very controversial. Okay, right here.
Fight fans, this should be a universal international story. Halfway through the fight, Turki El-Sheikh goes to Hamza Sheeraz's corner and tells him that he's losing on the scorecards by 2 points. Given the position of power Turki has, this is totally unacceptable. What's your thoughts? Fight fans, this should be a universal international story.
Okay, so all right, got a little scared there with the I never scared thing, but okay. Yeah, Turki kept it real 100. Yeah, so that's what it was, right? Now, let's talk about that controversy, okay? Because this is very important to tie this into the next fight that Hamza Sheeraz has going on with Berlanga. This is very important. Many people thought that Turki El-Sheikh was trying to rig the whole entire thing. Yes and no. I'm going to tell you why yes and no. Meaning that he has no influence over the judge, or at least he's not showing that in the exterior side of things, nor do I believe he has any reason to, but he does have access to the points that are in front of him. In other words, he can just get up and look at the judge's notes and say, well, the judge wrote this. So, oh my God, the judge wrote this. So now I got to go tell my favorite fighter. And this is where a lot of people think really wrong about Turki. They look at him as an authority figure, not as a regular fan. Now, is he the financier of all these fights? Yes. But he's not the authority figure in boxing. Do you know what I mean by that? What do I mean by authority figure? Herb Dean, the referee, famous MMA referee, has done dozens and dozens of MMA MMA. I think he's done a few kickboxing, maybe 1 or 2 boxing matches I've seen Herb Dean referee, but overall he's an MMA referee. Okay? Is he a man in position of authority in combat sports? He is. Is Turki El-Sheikh a man of authority in combat sports? No, he is not. What he is a glorified promoter. So in other words, what I think people get messed up is that Turki is allowed to have favorite fighters. But what he is not allowed to do, and what I don't think he does, is I don't think he interferes with the scoring or even the outcome of the fight. I think he is interested in seeing the best fight the best, but then He also has other people that he wants to be the best to whatever help he can give them. You understand what I mean? Like, that is the complicated matter at hand when it came to that controversy with Turkey El-Sheikh coming in between the ring. All he was doing was warning him. And you know what? There's an argument for open scoring, right? Will it dictate a different pace in a fight if you know that you're down on the scorecards? Maybe, or maybe not. But with that in mind, I think both men, Berlanga and Sheeraz, what they both lack is a sense of urgency. And I think that lack of urgency is going to make this fight very close all the way down to the wire. And it's going to go to a split decision. I swear to you, this fight is going to be a split decision because it's so close. But for who? And that is a question right here that I got to ask you. Who are the judges? Because if I'm going to give you a proper prediction on that, I got to know who the judges are, because that's literally how close this fight is between Sheeraz and Berlanga. All right, so with that in mind, next topic, heading on to Buckley versus Adesanya and their social media rants that they got going on with each other right now. Let's take a look at that particular matter at hand right now. Zane Musa Boxing says, yeah, I don't know yet, fam, but we got to give the fight to Sheeraz. That's the thing, right? If the right judges are on there, for sure. Again, it's really predicated on the judges. And yes, Zane says Sheeraz versus Canelo soon. That's also in the works, especially, man, can you imagine what if, even if Canelo loses to Terrence Crawford, which, by the way, I think that he is, that fight with Sheeraz would still be good. Like, you know what? Canelo is such a legend that even with a loss to Bivol, Crawford, and Floyd Mayweather, all the three greats of this generation and the previous generation, the current ones. Yeah, man, I think he can still draw a crowd no matter what. And even with a Hamza Sheeraz fight, it would be a big one. Even in a little bit of a domestic dust up in the UK. I know that Canelo's not an English fighter, but it would be a big card for England, especially when everybody might get behind Sheeraz on that one. Fam, for sure. Zane Musa Boxing says, huge fight for sure. And if they're going to do Sheeraz and Canelo, I would predict that they would probably do that in England before they would do it in America or maybe even Riyadh. Okay, so Joaquin Buckley, he goes off on Israel Adesanya after the UFC comments, "You ain't no real fighter." Now, that's a very interesting comment that he said right there. So Joaquin Buckley issued a challenge to Israel Adesanya. Okay, so this is good. You got a 170 fighter, okay, who was on the verge of getting a title shot right there had he beaten Kamaru Usman, then falls off, but maybe decides to go and fight up in the 185 division where Izzy is sort of in a losing streak. And then right there, if he fights him and gets a win, he can slide right in there and get a ranking. Now, following Buckley's loss to Kamaru Usman in the main event of UFC Atlanta, Adesanya was shown on his YouTube channel watching the fight saying Buckley is an annoying N-word, and then he hates the surging welterweight contender. Buckley issued a quick social media response, but after giving an honest assessment of how his fight against Usman went, the new Mansa unleashed a verbal tirade on the former middleweight champion. We're going to read what that is. First, let's read what the fake Conor McGregor here says. Are you an MMA or a political YouTuber? I'm confused. I do both because I think that in MMA there is a culture that yearns for political talk. So it sort of blends right in perfectly, right? Adding the elements of religion, adding the elements of politics. All of that is somehow correlated in the world of MMA because remember, MMA is dominated by right-wing Americans and Islamists from the Dagestan and the Chechen region. So, in other words, basically, MMA is ran by Muslims and Americans. That's really what it comes down to. It's ran by the Muslims because there's the most dominant fighters in all of the championship levels are Muslim. The financiers are Muslim. And then on top of that, the longtime participants of the sport is America, and the biggest development of the sport comes from America. So that's the reality of that sport in a nutshell. Okay, so as we go on, this is what he says to Joaquin Buckley, what Joaquin Buckley says to Israel Adesanya. He said he knows what it takes to get an L, okay? But what to say, but you say that you hate a mother effer, you glad that they lost, you glad that they didn't achieve their dreams is wild to me, bro. Buckley says on his YouTube channel. Like, bro, why the F are you mad at me? What the F did I do? I kind of find it funny that you hating on me. You need to be hating on the motherfucker that took your belt. And that is not my words, but by the quote of Buckley. So Buckley began his UFC tenure as a middleweight, but has now found success in a welterweight division. Now, the loss to Usman was his first since moving up to 170. But before making the drop, Buckley said that he had to face his run-ins with Adesanya and revealed that he made a request to face the last style bender in the past. And I believe that, just like when Buckley was always lobbying to take on Ian Gary. Now, before making the drop, Buckley said that he had to face it. Okay, he's trying to be funny, trying to use his platform to talk smack, but shows me the potential of my name and how big I'm becoming. Buckley explained. Just like when I met him at the UFC PI Center, he's like, "Hey, bro, I think we'd be a good fight." And he was like, I was quiet at the time, but see, I was like man enough to see in your face, and then he tells me how you feel to your face, bro. Instead of him being like a hoe, you underneath all the covers, man. I hate that guy. You ain't no real fighter. Blah blah blah. This and that. As of now, Buckley is figuring out his next move, having his long winning streak snapped by Usman. But if Adesanya wants to fight, Buckley seems completely open to bumping back up to middleweight to face another former UFC title holder, which is a great fight for him. Now you can get this work anytime, bro. Buckley says, I can give it to you, but I forgot you Chinese. You ain't no brother. You a real African that runs spot in DDP. This is him, saying this. So you're trying to make it like you're the real African brother. No, DDP is, because he's still getting it in where he's from in South Africa. But where you at? New Zealand, Australia, America? You don't know who you riding with. And then that's what Buckley basically fired back at Israel Adesanya for that particular notion. So there it is, right? Understand right from the beginning of the stream what I told you about that. Adesanya is friends with Usman, and Usman is fighting Buckley. So it's only natural that he's going to do that he's going to act like that, and he's going to be very abrasive to somebody that is fighting his so-called brother. That's just what it really comes down to. And for whatever reason, they just don't understand that. But on any regard, okay, so let's take a look at what the possible fights Islam Makhachev has, okay? Okay, so JDM is next. What is he looking to do after that? He's looking to do the winner between Charles Oliveira and Ilya Tapora, because he wants to be a two-time 155 champion and become a double champion for the first time by moving down, because he's already been down at 155 as a champion and has defended his belt multiple times. Now, what he's trying to do is become a double champ via being the 170 champ reigning title holder. So that is the plan of Islam Makhachev. So what that means is that he's going to take on the winner. If he beats JDM, he takes on the winner next week. And by the way, with that in mind, it leads us into the next segue, which is the full card of UFC 317. I know we got a UFC card going on this weekend already. I did a coverage on that. I urge you to take a look at the live stream that I did this morning, because I give you a full breakdown of that whole entire, well, not the full breakdown of that card, but a good portion of that card. But what I'm going to do right now is the full card of UFC 317, and we're going to get right to it as soon as I put this right on the description below. Okay, so right here, we're going to put right into 45 minutes. Okay, 45 minutes is the full card UFC 317. All right. So this is the full card for UFC 317. Let's take a look at this card, okay? And by the way, a lot of these matchups right now have just been recently made because they were really just trying to fill in this card while concentrating on the Abu Dhabi cards, which, by the way, is a whole different story and a whole different time. So here we go. UFC 317 right now. Okay, let's also see if we can... all right, so here we go. UFC 317. From the very beginning of the card, you got Jonah Dennis taking on Justin Tafa. Okay, 7-5 Justin Tafa versus 8-1 Dienes. Now, who am I going to go for with this one? I'm going to go with Dienes. Marty Miller says both McGregor. Shout outs to Marty Miller for that comment right there. So, Jonah Dienes is 8-1. Justin Tafa has a 50-50 record. What does that tell me? That tells me that here's an athletic and prospect that really doesn't have a lot of losses, right? He has one loss in his career. Let's take a look at what exactly that is, right? So at 6'4", 258 pounds, the only loss that he's had was his last fight was against Myson Tybura. So he was on a hot streak before this fight. Whereas with Justin Tafa, keep in mind, has a 50-50 record, okay? So right here, loses to Myson Tybura. Before that, knocks out the former football player Austin Lane, beats up a bunch of nobodies, and then gets a decision against a no-namer. Okay? Whereas, you take a look at Justin Tafa, I've told you this plenty of times, this guy has a 50-50 record. Okay? With this 50-50 record, what do we have right here? A 2-fight losing streak. By the way, a loss to the same guy that Johannes Dienes just got a decision against also, okay? And then his last fight, he loses to Talson Teixeira, basically starches him. But he does beat Austin Lane, so they do have a common opponent. He has a controversial fight with Austin Lane, comes back, fights him again, literally with months, within a few months apart from each other, beats Parker Porter. By the way, very hard to say. Try saying his name 10 times, right? So this is a guy with a 50-50 record, taking on a prospect who, before this loss, was on a hot streak. So I'm going to go with Dienes on this one. Maybe even a first-round knockout. I'm going to say it's a first-round knockout for this one. So that is the early prelims for that one. How about this? Jack Hermanson versus RoboCop. Gregory Rodriguez, okay? 37 versus 33, 6'1 versus 6'2, 185, 77. So let's take a look at where they were just at recently in their career, okay? Jack Hermanson, longtime veteran, okay? Fighting out of both Oslo, Norway, and Sweden. So very interesting combination, right? Obviously in the Norway area has been developing MMA for quite some time. As I've told you guys earlier in the live stream, it is America that is really prevalent in developing MMA. Uh, Marty Miller says, I think I'd pick RoboCop on that one. Okay, so that's interesting. Um, I'm going to go with Jack Hermanson. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I'm going to go with Jack Hermanson is I think that there is a chance that he's going to out wrestle him. He's done that to Joe Pfeiffer. He has great wrestling. He's got submission wrestling background, right? A very decorated grappler outside of MMA. So I'm going to go with him on this one by decision. Now, with RoboCop, okay, let's take a look at where RoboCop has been. Okay, Gregory Rodriguez. So let's take a look at RoboCop. Where have you been? He got knocked out by Jared Cannonier. Before that, had a decision against Leroy Duncan. By the way, listen, here's the thing, right? Leroy Duncan, for as good as he is and a great prospect as he is not on the level of Jack Hermanson. Okay, and he struggled with Christian Leroy Duncan, right? He couldn't put him out. I understand Christian Leroy Duncan is very elusive and this and that, but you know, yeah, man, Hermanson has a little bit of striking. So, um, Toxic Gameplay says, Kyrie, if someone ever hits you, I'm turning into Antonio Brown. Oh, wow, man. Shout out to you, my man. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Straight real loyalty right there to the max right there on the gang, on the set. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So, and then prior to that, Gregory, he says Brad Tavares. Okay. Uh, he beats Brad Tavares. That's a good win. He loses to Bruno Ferreira. Okay. And I don't know, man. That's not a fight that Jack Hermanson wins. So, yeah, I'm going to give Jack Hermanson the decision on this one. Okay, so Viviana Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. I'm going to give this one to Tracy Cortez by decision, right? Obviously, this is not a fight where it's going to be heavy hitting. It's not going to be yeah, it's not. Yeah, they're not going to go to a finish, right? Okay, let's take a look at some last few fights of Tracy Cortez. Now, obviously, you've seen her on social media with Neon, sort of promoting her brand and this and that. Loses to Rose Namajunas. Not an easy fight, but you know what? Great experience on her part. Beats Jasmine Javidikius. Beats Gato before that. Beats Justin Keish. Has a win over Aaron Blanchfield by a split decision back in Invicta. Okay, so Araujo, Vivian Araujo. So, okay, so last fight wins against Karen Silva. Before that, loses to Natalia Silva. And then Maya gets a win, decision against Amanda Hebaz. You see the pattern, just all these decisions, especially at the highest level, right? So I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cortez by decision on this one. No, you know what? Vivian Araujo. I think Araujo could win this one uh out grappling her. So that's who I'm gonna go for. Marty Miller says, I'm curious about that too, Nubby. Oh, Nubby MMA says, yo, what's your thoughts on Oliveira versus Taporia? Oh, yes, we're going to get to that. So stay tuned, okay? I'm going in the order of the card. I think it's a hard pick against Taporia right now. Well, stay tuned because I definitely have a take on that one because we are about to head into the main card right now. Opening in the main card, you got Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima. Okay, let's take a look at Felipe Lima because we know a lot about Peyton Talbot. Okay, he's supposed to be the top prospect for 135 right now, but Felipe Lima. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so Felipe Lima. Okay, coming off of a win against Miles Jones, has a win over Muhammad Nayev. Okay, rear naked choke, by the way. Okay, and that was in his UFC debut. He was in the Octagon. Let's see, was this for a championship? No, No, I don't think it was. Okay, but he has a unanimous decision win against Jonas Marriage. Okay, all right, so he's got a pretty decorated regional career. All right, so Peyton Talbot, he's going to have a tough fight in his hands. Okay, I like this one right here. Okay, so let's take a look at Peyton Talbot. Where is Peyton Talbot right now in his career? Let's see here. So fighting out of Reno Combat Academy. By the way, a gym that I'm very much familiar with. By the way, that was also a gym that not only, I believe, Ryan Vader started with, but also I think Paige Van Zant and then a whole bunch of other big names that they've had come out of that particular gym, right? Now Peyton Talbot is that guy, right? He loses to Hani Barcelos by decision, right? You've seen Hani Barcelos in his last fight. That's really no shame in that. I mean, probably one of the best wins of his career, right? Against Cody Garbrandt. And once again, also Peyton Talbot. But now Peyton Talbot, before that, has a win over Cameron Simon, knocks him out. That was back in 2024. And then now has a 19-second win against, yeah, man, this kid is on a hot streak. You're going to have to give this one to him. I think that he wins this one by a decision. It's going to be a tough fight. I think these are two top prospects that may see each other in a title eliminator later down the road. So I think Peyton Talbot wins this one by decision. Yeah, I'm going to give this one to Peyton Talbot by a decision. I think there's going to be a lot of grappling exchanges to which will be on Peyton's side. I think that he's going to knock him down. A 50-50 fight. But how about this? Another 50-50 fight, right? A lot of people are sleeping on some of these main card fights, right? Beneil Dariush, it's a 50-50 fight against Moicano. Now, Moicano obviously got a shot against Islam Makhachev as a late replacement. Not really indicative much of anything. But prior to Islam Makhachev, he has a win over Benoit Saint-Denis. By the way, in Paris, in the hometown of Benoit Saint-Denis, the former French Special Forces soldier turned UFC fighter, gets a win over him in his own country. And then gets a win over Jalen Turner. And then Drew Dober. And then Brad Riddle. Before that, he loses a 5-round decision against Rafael Dos Anjos when Rafael was really in his prime. He's sort of declining at this point, but not, in the way that he was in 2022, leg kicking him, giving him a little bit of mercy on top of that. I mean, letting him coast on top of that, but he learned a lot from it. So the RDA fight, the Islam Makhachev fight, should not be indicative of this one. But other than that, man, it was a bit of a hot streak. But let's take a look at Beneil Dariush in his recent run, or maybe lack of run, because now he has a 2-fight losing streak, but not a bad losing streak, right? You see, having a losing streak in the UFC is not the same as having a losing streak in the regionals, right? Look at who he lost to. Armin Sarukian finishes him, and then Charles Oliveira also finishes him, which leads me to believe that Moicano may finish him, not early though. We'll have to work for it, but maybe somewhere in the 3rd round. So I'm going to go with Moicano by 3rd round decision. Okay. Now, next one, Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Okay. And Mr. C says on the comment section, Riddle, not Riddle, rhymes with Liddell. Okay. Riddle. Okay. Riddell. Okay, got it. Okay, so next one is Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. Now, Joshua Van has been very active, right? A very inspirational story that came out of this kid, right? He said that in 2017, he saw Conor McGregor box Floyd Mayweather, and weirdly enough, a boxing match involving a UFC fighter is what led him to MMA, but also, I guess, his infatuation with both Mayweather and McGregor and wanting to be part of the circus. But on any regard, he's now part of the circus. All of a sudden, he's a veteran of the UFC now. getting all these wins, right? A rising star in the 125 division. By the way, a division that is yearning for stars and guys with some stories. So Joshua Van was born in Van Bao Tong in Chin State in Myanmar, okay, to a family of 5 siblings. And due to the SPD siege in Myanmar, his family had to relocate to Malaysia when he was 10 years old in search of better opportunities. Then he moved to Houston, Texas, and that's how he got into MMA and got into the UFC as a result of that. So the only losses he's had against Charles Johnson, and then the other one was very early in his career when he got rear naked choked in the regional scenes in Houston, Texas. So a lot of learning curve there, right? Ever since then, Edgar Shiraz gets a unanimous decision win. Cody Durden gets a unanimous decision win. Ray Tesora gets a unanimous decision win. Shows a lot of striking prowess in these fights, right? Very crisp with his boxing, right? But also a Max Holloway with good footwork. Bruno Gusso Silva gets a win over him back in June. That wasn't too long ago. Literally UFC 316, and here we are, right? So taking a look at Joshua Van's opponent, okay, obviously a much more uh, seasoned pro. Well, not so much more than him, right? But they have the right amount of fights. This is why we're seeing a lot of 50-50 fights in these undercards that I think is really, I guess, being underestimated. Okay, so he has a win over Tyra, gets a win over Brandon Moreno, split decision. Okay, not a very easy, split decision. Alex Pantoja goes to the cards with him. And by the way, that's for the flyweight division championship fight. Loses to Alex Pantoja again way before. Okay, that was in 2021, but has loss over Brandon Moreno, but then gets a win over Brandon Moreno. So my prediction on this one, I think this is going to be a 3-round fight of the night between Joshua Van and Brandon Royval, but I think Joshua Van is going to outstrike him all throughout the round 1 to round 3. Brandon Royval is going to get his licks in. He's going to get his highlights in, but it's going to be mostly Joshua Van who's going to outscore him by the end of the fight. So moving on with that one, it is Alex Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. Now, Alex Pantoja right now has been red hot, okay? I don't think it's going to be any different. I think Kai Kara France still makes the same mistakes that he's probably going to make in terms of keeping his hands down and getting knocked out. He has one win going into this fight, and then he already gets a title shot. I want you to put that in perspective, okay? He gets finished by Brandon Moreno, loses to Amir Albazi, and then just currently has a win over Steve Urseg. He's been 1-2 in his last 3 fights, and he gets a title shot. It's kind of strange, right? Which is why I say that he is tough. He's going to come in here prepared, and he's going to come in here a lot more careful in his previous fights, and he's going to appreciate this opportunity. And as a result of that, I think it's going to lead into a 5-round war, or at least a 5-round domination on the part of Alex Pantoja, controlling the fight from round 1 to round 5. So official prediction, Alex Pantoja with a 5-round decision. Okay, so now moving on to the main event. Okay, now let's time mark this 64. Ooh. Okay, 1 hour and 4 minutes. Tapora versus all right, so Tapora versus Charles Oliveira. Okay, so this main event, I got to tell you, this main event is a lot closer than people think, but I think eventually Ilya Tapora is going to clip him. Okay, so how exactly is this going to happen? Okay, well, I'm sorry, not Max. Charles Oliveira is going to use his jab just like Max Holloway does, which is why I almost like kind of confuse his name out of it, right? I think that Ilya Tapora is going to knock him out later in the fourth round. They're going to have a kickboxing match. They're going to have a scramble. It's going to look very even, and I think Ilya Tapora might be a little bit surprised due to the fact of the range and the distance and the size of Charles. He's going to be overwhelmed for a little bit, but then he's going to overcome it, and then he's going to probably knock him out maybe somewhere in the fourth or fifth round. That's my official prediction for Ilya Tapora versus Charles Oliveira. So to put it simply and to put it plainly, it's going to go as very methodical and very technical in the first round. It's going to be a back and forth. Second round, there's going to be wild scrambles with Ilya Tapora and Charles Oliveira, a few submission attempts maybe in the third or fourth round. And then in the fourth round or fifth round is when Ilya Tapora is going to lay down the shot, and it's going to look very devastating, and it's going to create an even bigger buzz for Ilya Tapora because people are surprised that he was able to fight a tough fight, but also persevere through it while also being able to fight back and win in a devastating fashion. So that right there is the official prediction. That right there is the official prediction for UFC 317. All right, so a little recap with that. Just wanted to run down everything that we did in the live stream. So, very beginning of the live stream, we talked about uh, Buckley going at Adesanya post Kamaru Usman. We talked about Sheeraz versus Berlanga. We talked about the full card with UFC 317, which, by the way, will be in its own separate video coming up with this particular live stream, put in a different video, but dedicated for UFC 317. We talked about the truth behind Islam Makhachev, his last three fights announced, or is it? And we went to the truth behind that. We also talked about some things in politics. We talked about a few things regarding Joaquin Buckley, Israel Adesanya, and all of these fights that are coming up. That is all that I have for this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, inshallah.